and then there were 4. Looking at you, Jim Schwartz, Todd Monken, Grant Yudinski, Nate Scheelhaus, to talk about these 4 succulent names. Actually, I think now they're just the final 4 names. They're not the succulent 6
you're not
anymore.
very impressed with any of them, so you can't call them succulent
but I just
or anything
like
else.
that word. But talk about that, talk about the head coaching carousel, whatever the hell happened today in Buffalo as well, which we got to get into. Baker versus Stefanski again. We head out to the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline, and welcome on, as we do every single Wednesday here, our buddy Ross Tucker, host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. You can check out on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. And he's joining us courtesy of myfrontpagestory.com. Ross, how we doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. It's funny because I feel like the only time I ever hear the word succulent is when people are talking about like a pig. Like it was a succulent pig that they ate.
Well, or a
fair?
succulent.
Yeah, like a succulent, like the plant.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
You've never received a succulent?
Oh, yeah. It's very nice. You don't have to water it or anything. It just kind of exists.
Yeah, JP loves to give succulents as presents.
My sister wanted a succulent. I gave her an expensive succulent once.
Wait, there's a flower called a succulent?
There is, sir. Yes, sir.
Wow. I didn't know that. What are you guys, like nerdy horticulturists?
That'd be a really nice turn of events for us, wouldn't it?
I believe JP is. Yeah.
No, she asked for it. I was like, sure, that's fine. I can do this. It's a good idea, right? Like if you're not, and she's pretty good at watering plants and stuff, but if you're not great at it, it just kind of exists and it looks nice and there it is.
Yeah, my wife always likes to have a couple things like that, like a couple plants like that around. It makes her happy. I don't really get it. I don't see the value.
Yeah, my wife has it too, and it's a very expensive habit to have. But hey, whatever makes them happy, right? Right, Ross?
I always thought, like a story from myfrontpagestory.com.
I knew it.
Which would be the greatest Valentine's Day gift she's ever gotten. Way better than Jonathan getting you a succulent. Go to myfrontpagestory.com. Talk to a writer in 10 minutes, or you can fill out an email. Tell them how amazing your wife is or girlfriend or whatever. They will write an incredible story. It looks like it's on the cover of, like, the newspaper, the Cleveland Plain Dealer, framed, beautiful. Here's the key. 2 things, quick. When you give it to her and she's opening it, she won't really know what it is at first. So you say, hey, babe, I wanted something special for you. So I had a story written about you. Way better than getting you a succulent. And she'll think it's amazing. And then make sure you tell the writer, I just never thank her enough for all the little things she does for us or for me or whatever. I'm telling you, they cry every time. Like even if you can't think of one little thing she does, just say that, and she will cry. You will win. MyFrontPageStory.com. I don't know who the Browns are going to get as a head coach, but I do know MyFrontPageStory.com will be the greatest Valentine's Day gift she has ever gotten, or your money back, maybe.
Ross, speaking of, let's see if we get the Browns a win here. As of right now, as of what's been reported, they could add more names to this, but the 4 candidates still in the running that will or have received second-round interviews are Jim Schwartz, Todd Monken, Grant Yudinski, Nate Scheelhaus. When I say that cadre of names, how do we feel?
I feel like for Browns fans, it's probably a letdown, because they probably would have rather had John Harbaugh or maybe even Jesse Minter, who seems to be, the hottest shot, I guess, of the coordinators. Let me throw another name at you. What about Sean McDermott?
Yes,
we've been discussing it, yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, yeah, why would you not talk to Sean? Like, Sean McDermott, okay, the book on him is he's a good coach, and they had a lot of success, but he got fired because they couldn't get over the hump. I mean, the Browns are just trying to get to the hump, when he took over in Buffalo, they hadn't made the playoffs in 17 years? Something like that? 99 to 2017? Something like that. 18 years maybe? I feel like on some level, he's the perfect guy to bring in. He sure as heck is worth a conversation. And so I would definitely talk with him. I think Schwartz would do a good job. I'm not one of those guys that thinks just because it didn't work out one place that they shouldn't get another chance somewhere else. Obviously, the Titans felt the same way, which is why they hired Robert Saleh. I'll also say this. You guys know I do the Eagles preseason game, so I follow that organization closely. Sirianni, well, first of all, Doug Peterson was like the last-ranked hire back in 2016. So when people did all the lists of this team nailed it, this is a great hire, Doug Peterson was last, and in his second year, they won the Super Bowl. And then Sirianni was, I believe, the last guy that even got hired. And then he had a horrific opening press conference, and he's made the playoffs every year, and they've gone to the Super Bowl twice, and they've won it once. So, you know what the truth is? We think we know, but we don't know. And that's all of us. I think Jesse Minter is excellent. I think he does a really nice job for the Chargers. How will he be as a head coach? I don't know. I mean, I think it's a little bit of a different skill set than being a great designer of defensive game plans and a great defensive play caller. I will say this. I do think the Ravens, there's a pretty good chance they'll hire him for a couple of reasons. Number one, familiarity. He was there for a few years. In fact, I had Eric Weddle on today's Raw Sucker Football podcast, and he talked about the fact that two of the low-level assistants when he was there were Mike McDonald and Jesse Minter, and now we see what they're both doing. But I think that's the reason why the Ravens are going to try to get him, because they see what Mike McDonald is doing in Seattle. They know what they had in Mike McDonald, but they couldn't hire Mike McDonald because they had John Harbaugh as their head coach. I think they look at Jesse Minter as a quasi Mike McDonald, and that they can make up for not being able to keep McDonald in the building as the head coach a couple years ago.
Ross, in like a big picture thought, why is it you feel like that with the coaches, we've had 10 coaches now lose their job this offseason, and we only had 2 GMs lose their job. And this even is evident in Buffalo, right? They get rid of the head coach, but then the GM and Brandon Beane stays on. Why is it that the GMs seem like they're more powerful than ever these days?
Well, there's 2 things that are notable there. Number one, which is interesting, is GMs almost never get a second chance. So what a lot of times they do is they get 2 bites at the apple. They get to hire or be a part of 2 head coaches. But then once a GM gets fired, they almost never get a second chance, because once you're a GM, it's clear the moves that you've made. Whereas if you're an assistant GM or a pro personnel director or whatever, and you're getting interviewed, you can say, yeah, that good player was me, that good player was me, that guy was not, that guy was not. Once you're an actual GM, you have a track record, and all of these guys have batting averages. And for the most part, like even you guys in Cleveland, for the most part, like Andrew Barry's approval rating is not good. I know that from talking with you guys, and with Browns fans, because fans don't really remember that much about the positive moves. What really sticks in their brain is the negative moves. Coaches, on the other hand, like Harbaugh, like Stefanski, like Saleh, they are more likely to get a second chance. The reason why the GM doesn't get fired as often as the head coach is because the GM is the guy sitting next to the owner during the games. And so when you're watching the game, a lot of these owners are not football people. So if you're sitting right next to the owner during the game and this play happens or that play happens, it's real easy to say when someone does something well, see, he's got the talent. If we could just get it out of him, if we could just get it out of him, or to point out when, a move is made that during the game that perhaps hurts the team or costs the team. Whereas when someone plays well, you can say, yeah, man, I knew it. I knew it, boss. When we got him in the 5th round, I just had a feeling. And so that frames what the owner is thinking during all of these games. It's like you get to get your first word in with the owner for all these games, and then a lot of times the owner meets with the head coach on Mondays. Not always, but in a lot of organizations. And by then, the owner's already already thought what he heard from the GM and already has that as the guy that he believes in for the most part.
Ross, I'm curious. I'm sure you've seen the D'Orlando Ledbetter tweet that Baker Mayfield quote tweeted and took a shot at Kevin Stefanski. If you haven't, then this question is going to be moot. But let's go for it.
I saw.
Did you come away from that, or what did you come away from that thinking?
A bunch of things. It's funny because on one hand, it's part of what I like about Baker. I like that he has a chip on his shoulder. I like that he takes everything personally and uses it as fuel because that's, what motivates him. And I like that guys have an edge. And I like sometimes when they make it public. It's good for us. We have something to talk about. But then what I also took about it is evidently he's still upset that when they traded him, I guess that he didn't hear from Stefanski with a text or a call or whatever. I don't know. I mean, you're talking to a guy that got cut, whatever it is, 4 times, traded once. I don't remember getting a text or a call. So, I mean, I wasn't the starting quarterback, but it's kind of a business. And I'd also say the fact that Baker would tweet that reminds me of one of the reasons why I highly suspect Stefanski wanted to move on from him in the first place. I distinctly remember, especially early in his tenure, and I can't, I'm not a Browns fan. I wasn't at every press conference. I didn't watch every second of every game. But Baker did a lot of things that I recall that were what I would call unbecoming of the face of the franchise. And you can say whatever you want about Kevin Stefanski. I know he's got a lot of detractors there, a lot of supporters, whatever. One thing you cannot take away from him is I thought Kevin, and if you guys have an example, I'm all ears, I thought Kevin always handled himself with incredible professionalism and classy. He was classy the whole time. People would say, whose play call was that? It's my play call. It's always my play call. He always took it. And I have a lot of respect for Stefanski. And I think, with him having grown up more or less in the business with a dad that was a GM in the NBA, I think the way Baker handled himself at times probably really rubbed Stefanski the wrong way. And so if it was like a tie or close as to whether or not, they should keep working with him or move on, I think Stefanski probably thought that's not who I want to hitch my wagon to. And honestly, he probably would have been better off if he did. But I can understand why he didn't, because you're the face of the organization and you're going to say some of the things that Baker said, do some of the things that he did. I just don't think Stefanski thought that's who he wanted to ride or die with.
Do you think Stefanski is going to be successful in Atlanta?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think they have pretty good personnel. The question there is I still am not convinced that they have a good quarterback. And I really wonder, if you're John Harbaugh and Kevin Stefanski, do you wish you had waited a little bit more? Do you wish now, on the one hand, there's something to be said for going to places where they're not having success? Because if you're John Harbaugh, and this is like the old Bill Parcells philosophy, Bill Parcells would always go to teams that were horrendous the year before. Because he knew, if I just clean up the culture, bring some of my own guys in, we will be at least 500. We'll be competitive, and I'll be the hero. We'll go from 2-14 or 3-13 to 8-8 or maybe better, and everybody will say I did a great job. So there's something to be said for John Harbaugh going to the Giants, who have been pretty much terrible for a long time, or Stefanski going to the Falcons, who haven't really won anything in a while and aren't that far away with some of the players they have from winning that division. I mean, that's a very, very winnable division. That said, if you're really trying to win big, I wonder if those guys wish they had a chance to interview and try to get the Bills job. And I'm a little surprised that if this was even a possibility, that the Bills did not somehow reach out to Harbaugh and Stefanski's agents behind the scenes. Maybe they did, and I don't know what I'm talking about, and just say, hey, just wait a couple more days. Just wait a couple more days, because those guys both finally got it done, like, over the weekend. It's like, hey, just wait a couple more days. Let's see what happens in our playoff game, because you're someone we would really be interested in.
Ross, I would love to talk with you about the Pakula Brandon Bean press conference today, but obviously you're going to be on the Westwood One call of Seattle and the Rams this weekend for the NFC title game. What's most interesting to you about this game?
Well, I think they're the two best teams left, and I like the NFC team to win the Super Bowl quite a bit. So that would be one thing. You know, I thought the Rams were the best team most of the season, probably just about until the fourth quarter of the Seattle game, Week 16. Since then, I think it's been Seattle. You know, the Rams are not quite what they were. You know, Devontae Adams is not 100%. You can see that when he's playing. And I feel like their defense is worn down a little bit, whereas Seattle has really taken it to another level. I mean, the last two games the Seahawks have played, they allowed 9 points total to the 49ers. 9 in 2 games. It just feels like they are poised and ready to take the top off that building. You know, in my mind, I think the only way the Rams win that game is if Stafford plays at an MVP level, which I'm not sure he's done, you know, the last couple games, and Sam Darnold plays below average. And honestly, in preparation for the game, I rewatched Week 16 this morning, and that's kind of what happened. I mean, Stafford, the Rams had over 500 yards of offense. Pook had over 200 yards receiving. Darnold had 2 bad picks, and the Seahawks still won that game. Now, they got a punt return for a touchdown and a controversial 2-point play, but they still won. So I think it's going to be Seattle, probably against the Patriots. I think Seattle's the best team, but, you know, they're probably going to have to beat the 2 MVP quarterbacks back-to-back, Stafford and Drake May, to do it, which will increase the degree of difficulty significantly.
Ross, you're the best, buddy. Appreciate you, and we'll talk to you the next week after the results of the conference title rounds.
Sounds great. MyFrontPageStory.com. Way better than a succulent from JP. Later, boys.
Thanks, Ross.
Later, dude. Ross Tucker, Odyssey NFL insider. Of course, Westwood One on the conference title call this weekend.